Grassroots Advocacy. It's a great pleasure to see everyone here tonight and see so many people supporting all of our Cornell fellows who have gone through the program so far. As Jason said, my fellowship was with an organization known as Global Zero, and I did it in the fall of 2015 at their DC headquarters. Now, Global Zero is the international movement to eliminate nuclear weapons. They have a big volunteer base throughout the United States and a very active chapter here on campus. Global Zero hopes to accomplish their mission through a number of different avenues. The first of which is grassroots activism, mobilizing volunteers in a number of different capacities, creative campaign tactics such as a few of the photos that you see here, rebranding the nuclear weapons movement, as well as events held outside of rallies and debates, and engaging grass-top support. So these are key leaders in communities that we work with to have them support Global Zero's mission of eliminating nuclear weapons worldwide. Now, starting out my fellowship, I had three particular goals. These were hashed out with both of my supervisors. I'll talk about them in just a little bit. The first of which was developing my time management skills. Second, learning what it takes to be a field organizer. For those of you who aren't familiar with what that is, I'll talk about it here in a little bit. And the third of which was learning how to thrive and work with independence. In other words, learning what it means to be an adult and to have independence outside of the college campus. Now, my role was specifically as a field intern with Global Zero. These are the two supervisors that I had throughout my fellowship, Zach and Lily, two incredibly fantastic individuals. Now, some of you may not have heard the term field organizer before. Both of them work as US field organizers with Global Zero. A field organizer is someone who works to develop and build a grassroots movement for an organization. They do the work here in the United States, but Global Zero also has other field organizers working throughout the world. We have an organizer in Pakistan and India as well. My primary project was to support both Zach and Lily throughout a lot of the field work that they were doing this year. Global Zero recently launched a new 2016 campaign initiative called Race to Zero. We were pressuring candidates to make nuclear weapons a priority on any administration across both sides of the aisle, both Democrat and Republican. This meant that there was a lot of coordinating that needed to be done, and it was a new route for Global Zero to take. I did a lot of the behind-the-scenes work to help Zach and Lily accomplish those goals, as well as a lot of our volunteers throughout Iowa and New Hampshire. This meant that I worked to develop and manage a candidate tracking system, so following candidates throughout the United States, getting information on where and when they would be having these events, and then providing support and assistance to the volunteers and the activists who would bird dog at these events. Bird dogging basically means getting to candidate events and asking them pertinent questions for your organization to make sure that they know that this is a primary issue they should be considering. I did a lot of research on candidates in the 2016 election. This was when we had way more than we have who are currently running, so kind of figuring out what their positions were on nuclear weapons and helping kind of provide that base work for Global Zero to tailor questions at those events. And finally, I did a lot of communication, outreach, and organizing for the big Race to Zero kickoff that we had here in Iowa, actually. So this meant doing a lot of organizing and outreach with local colleges here in Iowa and encouraging people to support Global Zero as a movement. I had a few other miscellaneous responsibilities during my time at Global Zero, really not as big as a lot of the work that I did on the field organizing side. We did a number of late night debate watches, which were primarily intended to respond to any statements that candidates made on nuclear weapons during a lot of the presidential debates, as well as going to a lot of staff meetings to help facilitate a lot of the field organizing that we did on the ground. All of this was to make things like this possible. So the pictures on the left that you see are many of the different candidate intercepts that Global Zero has had and been very successful at throughout the campaign season. Getting candidates to make public statements on their positions related to nuclear weapons. We've had them from both Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and Jeb Bush when he was still running as well, supporting the elimination of nuclear weapons. And all in all, leading to a very successful 2016 campaign kickoff. Now, that's just kind of a brief overview of some of the primary projects that I did, but overall, There are way too many impacts that I experienced as a result of this internship for me to really talk about in a 5-minute span. So really the most important things for me was something that our alumni presenter talked about earlier, which was having a great deal of responsibility within an organization that also came along with the opportunity to make my own mistakes. I was working in a critical role in this organization and had the opportunity to manage a lot of my own projects, which is an experience that I'd never had before. Consequently, I can't say that I was perfect on every single thing that I did, but having the opportunity to make my own mistakes in that capacity was a hugely developmental experience for me. One of the really cool things as a result of this fellowship, I'm actually still doing continued work with Global Zero, both here on campus and a little bit more once I graduate. Recently attended an organizing conference with Global Zero a couple weeks ago in Washington, D.C. with a number of other Cornell volunteers. As you can see, the pictures here on the right-hand side were the rally that we held outside the Nuclear Security Summit to pressure world leaders to consider eliminating nuclear weapons as part of international security, since it wasn't on the agenda whatsoever. And the third and final thing was, through my work at Global Zero, I saw that I really could have a career that could make a positive impact in other people's lives. This was something that I wanted to do when I first got into college, but something that I started to lose sight of. The work that I did with Global Zero really invigorated that with me, and I'm hoping to continue doing a lot more volunteer work through them once I graduate back in New Mexico. Now, none of this would have been possible without the immense support of so many different individuals, and I have them to credit with a lot of my own personal development and the opportunities that I've had as a result of this fellowship. First and foremost, I'd like to give a huge thanks to my faculty sponsor, Dr. David Yamanishi, all of the Career Engagement Center staff who helped me throughout the process, my hugely supportive friends and family who were there with me throughout the whole process, my incredibly gracious hosts who opened their home to me at, honestly, a very last minute. My Global Zero staff members are, well, not my staff members, but the people that I worked with, and my site supervisors, Zach and Lily. They've had a profound impact on my personal and professional development this last semester, and I know that so much of what I accomplished would not have been possible without their guidance and support. Lastly, I'd like to give a huge thanks to the executive director, Derek Johnson, who's a 2004 Cornell grad, for the guidance and mentorship that he provided, as well as Global Zero's new efforts to now provide an ongoing fellowship for a Cornell student. So it's a huge thing for an organization to do for Cornell Fellows, and I'm immensely appreciative of everything that happened. So thank you all so much.